If somebody is ruminating and they're having negative thoughts when they're trying to fall asleep, what should they do in order to get past that and fall asleep?
First, I would recommend, and it's something I practice, meditation. So meditation allows you, it's either guided and you're speaking about what you should be doing with your breathing, or relaxation guided meditations. All of those stop your mind from being able to play on itself and go through that Rolodex of anxiety. You can do breathing techniques. You can listen to sleep stories. You can do your own type of body scan. Anything that you can do, and something we described, which seems to be a quite effective method, is taking yourself on a mental walk. Close your eyes, and a walk that you know intensely well with vivid 4K detail. Replicate that to the letter.
The next question is, what is the best position to sleep in? Best body position?
Best body position is probably the absence of the worst. That would be your back. And it's ill-advised mostly for people who snore. When you are on your back, the likelihood of you snoring and that airway collapsing entirely and you having what's called a hypoxic event where you stop breathing entirely is significantly higher than if you sleep on your side or on your front. So I would say that for most people, if you know that you don't snore, if your partner says, I don't hear you snoring, that's partial confirmation that you do not snore. If you are curious, and everyone should be curious as to whether they snore, I would say download an app, and it is called Snore Lab, and it listens to you all night and it records your breathing. Nothing more. Can't know what you're doing or saying. Don't worry, there's privacy. But it assesses your breathing. If you see a confirmation of snoring by way of that Snore Lab, go and see your doctor. That is the best advice. 80% of people who have sleep apnea or snoring or cessation of breathing are undiagnosed right now, and it will take years off your life. And when you get treated, it is transformational.
The next question is, why does my body wake up at 3:30 a.m., and I'm presuming their mind as well, no matter what time I go to sleep?
So to that question, and we will have spoken about this before, my first response is, how do you know it's 3:30? And their response is, because I look at the clock. That's the first problem. Take all clock faces away from your sight when you are sleeping. It is only going to reinforce it. The second is that 3:30 can sometimes, or if it's a consistent time, there's no sort of special thing about 3:30, it's just for this person. People wake up at very specific times, quite reliably so. Part of that is because they're going through very reliably timed sleep cycles. And every time we finish a REM sleep period, we wake up. But it's normally very brief, and the reason is because we've been in paralysis and the body needs to move. So we wake up, we make a postural shift, we move in our bed just slightly, and then we go back to sleep. It happens to us all. For some of us, we will wake up and then we will stay awake. And that's why it seems to be so religiously timed to certain specific moments in our night. But this other sort of individual mentioned, no matter what time I go to bed, I seem to always wake up there. That to me smells of a suggestion of reinforced learning, that you've woken up a couple of times, you've checked the clock, and now you have taught your brain very quickly that I always wake up at 3:30 in the morning. And lo and behold, what happens is that you start to do that more frequently. The more frequently it happens, the more times that you check, the stronger that memory association becomes, the more likely it is to happen. Remove the clock face from the bedroom.
Terrific. Right. What are some of the best practices for getting back to sleep after waking up in the middle of the night?
There, I would say there are several things. Don't try too hard. Trying to get back to sleep and become frustrated is very much like trying to remember someone's name. Sleep is just like this, that the harder you try, the further you push it away. And as soon as you stop, all of a sudden that name just pops back into your head. And it's the same way with sleep. Now, previously, I've said you don't want to spend a lot of time awake in bed because you learn the association that your bed is the place of wakefulness, and every time you come in at night, you're always wide awake and you don't know why, despite having fallen asleep watching television just 20 minutes earlier. And if you are struggling to fall back asleep and you've listened to me and the idiocy of what I've been describing over the past 6 episodes, you could start to get very stressed and say, gosh, well, sleep is doing this and this and this, and I'm now, and it's been 20 minutes and I can't fall back. You just get more and more stressed. Instead, take a different approach at that point. Instead of, if all the techniques that we've spoken about, getting your mind off itself, and we listed them just now, and we've listed them in a previous episode, if none of those are working and you just can't catch it, don't worry, just say to yourself, you know what? Tonight is not my night. And he told me it's okay. And it really is. It's fine. Tomorrow night is going to be a better night. Tonight, instead, rather than trying to force myself to sleep, I'm just going to lie here, maybe with my eyes open. I'm just going to rest. I'm just going to enjoy and not stress. I'm just going to enjoy a good old rest in my bed.
Quote, I used to be a great sleeper, but as I've gotten older, and then they mention that they're 65 currently, I find that I wake up much earlier than I did previously, and it's difficult for me to get more than 6 hours of sleep. What do you think is going on, and what are some remedies?
The first question I would want to ask is, how do you feel on 6 hours of sleep? And we can go from there. If you are impaired and you're struggling during the day, and this person sounds as though they are unhappy with that 6 hours, then we can start to have a conversation. See if you can delay your bedtime as best you can. If your bedtime is 10 and you're normally waking up at 6, but you're consistently waking up at 4, start trying to go to bed at 11 p.m. It will take a couple of days to build up that sort of remembering from your brain and the debt that to begin with, you'll go to bed now at 11 and you'll wake up at 4 again and things are even worse. But after a while, you're building up this pressure to sleep and all of a sudden you're going to bed again at 11, but your brain thinks, I have had 4 nights of now just 5 hours of sleep. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to sleep through until 5.
What, if any, supplements do you personally take or recommend to people?
Maybe you could say a little bit more about those that you would recommend, and I think they're going to probably overlap because I already sort of know some of them. But
the supplements that I recommend when people ask are magnesium threonate. It's more or less interchangeable with magnesium bisglycinate. It has a slight sedative property. A lot of people are deficient in magnesium anyway, and this is magnesium taken about 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. The other one is Apigenin, which is essentially a derivative of chamomile.
Yep.
And then the third is theanine, which is known to have a mild anti-anxiety component to it. The one caveat is that theanine can be problematic for people that have very vivid dreams. It can often, people say that it makes their dreams even more vivid. And so if you suffer from that or it's waking you up, then I suggest leaving out the theanine. I actually recommend people start with just one thing and then see how it affects them. If you could give just one tip for getting better sleep, what would that be?
Regularity.